Imagine, your own father didn't just hate you, he wanted to consume you. This is the dark reality of the world before order. Before the stars and before humanity, there was a 10-year apocalypse. A war where mountains were thrown like stones and the sky itself was on fire. This is the Titanomachy, and it all began with a god who is hungry for his own blood. Part 1. The Curse of Uranus and the Rise of Cronus. Before the sky existed, before direction had meaning, there was only chaos. Out of this cosmic mess emerged the primordial powers, Uranus, the personification of the sky, and Gaia, the eternal earth. But Uranus was a tyrant of the worst kind. He looked at his own children, the monstrous Cyclopes and the terrifying hundred-handed giants, and he saw only ugliness. In an act of unthinkable cruelty, he shoved them back into the dark womb of Gaia. He buried his mistakes alive. Gaia, in absolute agonizing pain, could no longer endure the weight of her imprisoned children. She forged a weapon, a sickle of flint, harder than any stone. She called to her children, the Titans, but only one was brave enough, or perhaps power-hungry enough, to answer. Cronus, the youngest, the god of time. With the sickle in his hand, Cronus struck. He severed his father's connection to the world, and as the blood of Uranus hit the sea, the age of the Titans began. But remember this, power is a poison. As Cronus sat upon his golden throne, the dying words of his father echoed in his mind like a terminal illness. One day, your own child will do to you exactly what you did to me. Cronus didn't build a fortress to protect his throne. He didn't build a dungeon. Instead, every time his wife Rhea gave birth, he took the newborn, still screaming, and he swallowed them whole. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, the gods who would one day rule the world, were trapped in a lightless, airless void. This wasn't a kingdom, it was a stomach, a prison made of flesh where the unborn gods grew in the silence of their father's belly. Part 2. The Cretan Secret and the 10-year stalemate. But Rhea had a steely resolve. She could no longer watch her children disappear into the abyss of Cronus. When her last child Zeus was born in the darkness of the night, she made a desperate gamble. She wrapped a large, heavy stone in baby blankets and handed it to her husband. And Cronus? Blinded by his own paranoia, he swallowed the rock in a single gulp. Why? How do you not feel the cold, hard weight of a boulder compared to the warmth of a child? While Cronus was satisfied, baby Zeus was whisked away to the rugged mountains of Crete. He was raised in secret, nourished by the milk of the goat nymph Amalthea, and guarded by the Curetes, warriors who clashed their shields every time he cried, so the sound would never reach the ears of the king. Years passed. Zeus grew strong, fueled by a decade of hidden rage. With the help of the goddess Metis, he returned to his father's court as a stranger. He slipped a powerful emetic into Cronus's wine. Cronus drank, and his stomach, which had held the gods for eons, turned. Out came the stone, then Poseidon, then Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia. They emerged not as infants, but as fully grown divine beings, with eyes burning for revenge. The children were free, but freedom was only the beginning of a nightmare. The war began. The Titans, massive and ancient, against the young Olympians. For 10 years, nobody won. Immortality didn't save them. It only prolonged the suffering. Imagine a decade where the sky was always black with smoke, where the earth trembled so much that mountains turned into dust. The Olympians held Mount Olympus, and the Titans held Mount Othrys. It was a stalemate, a war of attrition that promised to consume the entire world before a single victor emerged. Part 3. The descent and the ultimate weapons. Zeus looked at his bleeding world and realized brute force was not enough. To break the stalemate, he needed the allies his father had feared long ago. Guided by the ancient wisdom of Gaia, Zeus turned his gaze toward the abyss. He did not descend to Tartarus as a king looking for soldiers. He descended as a son, trying to end a curse. Tartarus was not just a prison. It was a living shadow. Zeus fought through the suffocating darkness, facing the terrifying jailer Campe until he reached the iron bars of the deep. There he broke the chains of the Cyclopes and the hundred-handed giants. In gratitude, the Cyclopes, the divine mastersmiths, offered Zeus something more than loyalty. They offered him the power to dominate the sky. In the fires of the abyss, they forged the weapons of legend. To Zeus, they gave the thunderbolt, a weapon that didn't just strike, it erased. To Poseidon, they gave the trident, capable of stirring the oceans into a frenzy. And to Hades, the helm of invisibility, allowing him to move through the battlefield like a phantom of death. The Olympians finally had the tools to shatter the old world. Part 4. The final sensory apocalypse. The time for games was over. Zeus stood upon the highest peak of Mount Olympus, feeling the raw power of the thunderbolt humming in his hand. Everything was light. Everything was fire. He unleashed his total energy. Thousands of lightning bolts rained down from the heavens, searing the very air. The Titans, who had thought themselves invincible, found themselves blinded by a light so pure it burned their souls. Now, unleash fury! The hundred-handed giants stepped forward. Cottus, Briareus, and Gyes, 300 arms acting as one. They began to hurl mountain-sized boulders, 300 rocks every single second. It was not just a war anymore. It was a rock-themed machine gun, a relentless barrage of stone that buried the Titans under the weight of the earth itself. The invincible Titan phalanx fractured. The proud King Cronus, left alone on the battlefield, watched as his empire crumbled into dust. The war was won. The Titans were bound in unbreakable iron and dragged down to the very pit they had once used as a graveyard. The smoke cleared. Zeus took the throne, dividing the world between his brothers. The age of the Olympians had finally begun. The Titans fell, but power never dies. Remember the prophecy. Uranus overthrew his father. Cronus overthrew Uranus. Zeus overthrew Cronus. Somewhere in the shadows of the next age, another sun is growing stronger. The cycle never truly ends.